Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of All Things College and Career. We had a live podcast, and it was so much fun and really exciting for us and nerve-wracking. We had Rachel Schneider, elite pro runner, and thanks to the Sanford Performing Arts Center and Sanford High School, we have a recording of the event, and we can share that with you now. So Rachel is coming up next.
Yeah, we're so excited, and I just have to, a little caveat here. I got a little emotional at the beginning, so please forgive me for that. Yeah. But Rachel is an incredibly special person in our lives, so it was hard to overcome the emotion, but we're so proud of her, and this was such a fun evening for all of us. So thanks to Rach. And so let's just get on to our live podcast show.
Let's do it.
Good evening. Welcome to a live taping of All Things College and Career. Rachel Schneider is in the house. All Things College and Career is a podcast. Each week, the hosts interview someone who has an interesting college and career story. This episode's interesting college and career story is Rachel Schneider. Meg Gary is the host, and she is a longtime resident and business owner in the Sanford Springvale community. And she'll be interviewing Rachel Schneider this evening, along with her co-host, Bobby Ryan, who is not a professional runner, but who has run a marathon. Go Bobby! Meg Gary and Bobby Ryan are sisters, and I am their sister. I'm Patty Walsh. So we owe a debt of gratitude to several people who helped put together tonight. We are thankful for the Sanford Performing Arts Center, for the Sanford community, and especially to Joe Doran, without whom he and his team, nothing tonight would have happened. So thank you very much. So here's how it's going to go tonight. After my brief audience warm-up, I will introduce Meg Gary, Bobby Ryan, and Rachel Schneider, and a one-hour interview on her college and career story will follow. At the end, there will be time for questions. We will have a mic stand set up over here with this mic. And you have about an hour to come up with a couple of questions for Rachel. And at the correct time, we'll invite you to line up at the microphone to ask your questions at the end. So speaking of questions, I have a few questions for you as a way of warm-up. Please raise your hand if you've ever heard a podcast. Tons of you, thank you. And before tonight, have you ever been to a live taping of a podcast? Me either. If you are wearing Under Armour, please stand up. Woo! Very good. If you are currently a member of a running team, please stand up. Terrific. Stay standing. If you have ever been a member of a running team, please join them in standing up. Wow. We got some runners here. You may be seated. So for anyone who's live tweeting tonight, our hashtag is Learn Before You Leap. And because you are a live audience for this taping, please put your cell phone into vibrate mode. So, are you ready? In 3, 2, 1, Meg Gary! And Bobby Ryan. Hometown hero, professional runner, very, very special guest, Rachel Schneider.
we are so glad you're here. This is amazing. Thank you. And Patty, thank you for that great introduction. Bobby and I do want to take just a brief moment to thank you for inviting us to host this. This is an honor. We are flattered and appreciate it. And we want to echo Patty's sentiments and thank you to Sanford Performing Arts Center for providing this incredible venue.
Thank you.
Special thank you to Joe Doran. This was his idea. He did an incredible job, and I know he involved some students and faculty. So thank you, Joe, to you and your team. But most of all, Rach, thank you for, I'm getting emotional, but thanks for being here tonight. We're so proud to have you and learn about your journey.
So. Thank you for having me. This is an incredible honor. So thank you, everyone, for coming out. This is
yes, it is special. Yes, thank you, Rachel. We're so excited to have her here. Meg and I are big fans of Rachel, and she just she always inspires us. She is not only a mega talented runner, as we all know, but she has strength of character, and she is a great role model, and we couldn't be more proud of her. Enough of the gushing, though. So Meg and I are clearly nervous.
Yes.
This is not our first live podcast, which means we can't edit out any of our mistakes. So wish us luck and bear with us.
Absolutely. And we have had a wide variety of careers featured on our podcast, and very proudly, a lot of Sanford natives.
Yeah.
So we've had everything from professional water skiers to a general surgeon to a physical therapist to a registered dietitian to optometrists, and nothing has made us more proud than featuring some of our Sanford natives here. But we've never had a professional runner,
right?
And we could not be more excited, and I think I can speak for the whole Sanford community and beyond. We're so proud of you, Rach.
Thank you.
So excited to learn about your journey from growing up in your small town, hometown of Sanford, Maine, and competing on the world stage.
Yeah,
so.
Absolutely. So hey, let's have a seat. Make ourselves
Thank you.
Yeah.
in these great chairs. So all of you that might listen to our podcast, and whoever doesn't, we always start our podcast by asking our guests 3 things that they love about their career. Ooh. So Rachel, what are 3 things you love about being a professional runner?
Oof, it's a long list, but I think probably some of the top 3 are the people it's connected me to and the places it's connected me to, and just getting to challenge myself on a daily basis. And I think that extends physically and mentally for sure. So. Yeah, it's a dream job.
It seems like a pretty great job, and those are really 3 great things.
Yeah, so Rach, just curious if anybody here happened to go to St. Thomas Elementary School or is visiting from there, if you could just raise your hand. Great, awesome. Welcome, we're glad you're here. And what about St. Elizabeth Seton? Do we happen to have anybody here tonight? If you could just raise your hand. And
Coach Sanford, is that you?
Welcome, we're glad you're here. And just curious if anybody happened to compete in the Sanford Park and Rec Track and Field Summer Program. Did anybody happen to? Well, this is where Rachel got her foundation and her roots. So we're wondering if we could just turn the clock back a little and learn where it all began. So maybe just start with your running at St. Elizabeth Seton in junior high. Was that your first exposure to official track team?
Oof, I think you have to go a little bit further back. Being the youngest of 4 and greatly looking up to all my older siblings, I was exposed to running long before I owned a pair of running shoes. And I was that little sibling that wanted to do everything my older siblings did, which was probably quite annoying at some points. But I went to all their track meets when they were in junior high and high school, and just watching the joy that it brought them and the way it challenged them, I couldn't wait to do that. remember sitting at the track while my sister and dad would go down to the Sanford track and like running a few laps with them and then totally dying and just sitting there like watching Kathy in complete awe.
Right.
And so I was excited to get to the point where, I could run for a team. And the first actual program I did was the Sanford Summer Rec program that Kathy happened to coach. And practices consisted of playing capture the flag and like freeze tag and all these fun games that just really introduced a lot of joy with running into my life. So by the time I got to junior high, I was already introduced to it and couldn't wait to actually be a part of a team with practices and competitions. And so that kind of took me to my first competitive experience with it. And I was fortunate to have some coaches there, Coach Sanborn and Coach Wendell, who made it a lot of fun and believed in me and made me excited to keep going with it.
Definitely, and I'm pretty sure you set a few school records there. Is that the first time that you realized you might have a talent for running?
Yeah, I guess so. I think I set a few school records, and it was a good introduction. I definitely got a competitive spirit at junior high, as my coaches would tell you back then.
Right. So at the end of junior high in 2005, you and probably I should backtrack just a bit. Probably your first official exposure to USA track and field was probably through the Sanford. You had to get your USA card, I believe, through that program. Yeah. So in 2005, you qualified for the Junior Olympics, and you made a big trip out to Indianapolis and got 7th there. So just curious, and there's a photo of it right there. So just curious if that was your, over your other shoulder. Oh yeah, actually both. But if that was your first exposure to what we may call elite running.
Yeah, I actually think that is probably the first real taste of that. I think that was after my 8th grade year. Both my junior high coaches and my best friend Michaela and my parents drove all the way across the country to Indiana with me, which was really quite the trip. And it was such a fun meet. Like they kind of made it like an Olympic spirit with the whole like opening ceremony. And this photo is actually really funny. That's Jordan Hussey and Emily. Well, actually Emily Sisson was in the award one, but it was.
So these are some pros that are competing.
Right, I think it was Jordan, but I wasn't sure.
Yeah, a handful of them are.
And they're still competing.
They are. Yep. Yeah, they're both marathoning now. But anyways, it was definitely a taste of kind of a high competitive meet, but also just kept it super fun, and it was a great experience.
You would say your early years was just more fun and relaxing and just an adventure and lots of zoos.
Definitely. Meg's
keeping up with your siblings.
This trip.
Rachel's a big animal lover.
High priority was visiting the Indianapolis Zoo. So that provided some extra motivation to make it to the final, so we could continue to stay in Indianapolis for a few days. But I would really emphasize the point, though, a lot of my formative years of running, and I think part of the reason I fell in love with it so much was because the people that were coaching me and my family and the people that I was on the team with just made it so fun that it
made you want to go on
anymore.
Totally.
Yeah. Even in pressure situations, it was always about kind of bringing it back to having fun and just doing the best you could do.
That's so awesome. So who would you say, just to wrap this little segment up, who would you say was most instrumental to you during your early years?
Yeah, I think probably have to, if I had to pick one person, it would probably be Kathy. My sister was just someone I always wanted to be just like. She was always doing she's the coolest in my mind. She still is. Still want to be just like her. But she kind of was the spark that got me wanting to run. Her and my older brother both, they just had this passion for running that I couldn't wait to be a part of. And the shoes I'm wearing in this photo are my sister's old flats that I can very vividly remember her handing down to me, and I thought that was the coolest thing because these are the shoes that she had raced in.
That's a great story.
I couldn't
Passing of the torch.
Yeah,
and then you blew right by her. That's not nice.
Sorry, Kat.
Not to say she was amazing, but there's different levels of amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So let's move on to your high school years. Is anybody here from St. Thomas Aquinas High School?
All right.
Oh, thanks for coming out. Glad you guys are here. So obviously that's where Rachel went to high school. So you were a standout soccer player as well growing up.
That's generous.
I know you're going to deny that, but you were, so don't go. Anyway, but at some point you reached a crossroad in high school where you decided that you were going to focus on running. What kind of went into that decision?
Yeah, probably not what people would expect. I love soccer. That was my first sport love. I think I started playing when I was about 4 years old. And if you asked me going into high school if I'd play a sport in college, I probably would have said soccer. But I did have great experiences in junior high with running, and I knew I wanted to do track. But I played soccer my freshman year of high school and just kind of had not the best experience. We're going back to how important kind of the element of fun was in my in those years, and connections with teammates, and just like, especially starting out high school. So my freshman year of soccer kind of lost that fun, was a negative experience. So then I did indoor and outdoor track my freshman year, and the coach and the team were just so welcoming, and it had such a great culture, and it was so fun. And when it came to the next fall of my sophomore year, I kind of decided to flip the switch and focus on running year round and being with my friends year round, and making that a priority.
Right. So it wasn't so much to increase your ability at running, it's more because it was your enjoyment. That's what you were enjoying, and that's key, I think.
Yeah.
So during your high school years, you were a 2-time New England champion in the 1600 and once in the 800. Plus, by your senior year, you were 19th in the USA in the mile. And those are impressive statistics for any high school athlete, for sure. Can you tell us a little bit about what your training was like in high school, if at all? And like what some of your challenges were and some of your happiest memories?
Yeah, oh man, a lot of happy memories. That would take up the whole hour. But training, so it's actually interesting. To this day, even my college, we didn't have a track. So it was a little untraditional when it came to forming practices. A lot of our runs would be on this back road in New Hampshire and around a cemetery, and we'd just go for a couple miles, often incorporating telephone poles, like sprint these 5 telephone poles, jog these 5, and every now and then when we could get on a track, we would do a certain workout. But for the most part, I remember it being, pretty unstructured, kind of, just doing things here and there, using Tuesday track meets as a workout and just jumping in almost every event. So, which was great, because I think in a lot of ways I was underdeveloped going into college, so it kind of gave me a big place to move and to grow, especially my freshman year of college. I made some pretty big jumps when the structure and the formality was kind of introduced.
Right. So at that time you were pretty much still focusing on both the 1600 and the 800, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Even though you jumped into some other races just for workouts.
400s and 200s.
I do remember in those years you being in like 10 events or something in a day, and it was so shocking in college to see you in one. So
a little
tired watching you.
But
I remember thinking that was year 2 in college. I'm like, wait, I'm only doing one event?
No,
really?
That's it. Exactly. So what about some challenges?
Some challenges in high school?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Not really. If you don't have any, that's great.
Yeah, I think I was a bit naive in high school, which I don't know if that counts as a challenge, but I definitely didn't understand what could impact performance and how running could be, how many lifestyle factors can go into performance, and even just training in itself. There's such structure to it, and there's long runs and so many different types of workouts, and I got to college and I was really ignorant of
Yeah,
a lot
it's kind of like studying, right? In high school, you're like, I think I studied for that pretty well. And then in college, you try that same maneuver, and you end up with a D.
Yeah, exactly.
Not us.
Not us, of course. Other people. No. So I have to say, we interviewed another standout athlete from Sanford, Maine, Michael Morin. Some of you may know him. He is a 3-time All-American, NCAA D3 All-American wrestler, and he's now the head coach of wrestling at the University of Southern Maine. And Michael talked to us a bit about cautioning parents and coaches about not pushing their athletes to focus on one sport too soon because of burnout and mentally and physical burnout.
Keeping it fun, basically.
Keeping it fun, and that a lot of his standout athletes were multi-sport athletes growing up. Yeah. So what are your thoughts on that?
I definitely think there's a lot to that. I feel really lucky in how many sports I was introduced to as a kid.
Yeah.
And I really chose, like, running was my choice. My dad, as he'll tell you, kept trying to push me to lacrosse, and even when I loved running, he's like, "Oh, why don't you try this one too?" And I was like, I'm pretty sure I'd like this running thing. But I think it's great to introduce kids to a whole bunch of things and see what they find joy in and see what they find excitement in, and then support that. And it doesn't mean you can't introduce them to things that you might think they might like, but I think physically, I think also playing other sports is great for your body and development.
Right.
But then mentally, I totally agree. Just keeping things fun, introducing different things, and then seeing if they do want to specialize. That should hopefully be their decision, so then they end up loving it. But, but yeah, I really do think, as ignorant as I might have felt going into college, I also think it could have been a huge blessing because other friends I've had that had high intense high school programs did get burnt out mentally, and I felt almost the exact opposite, where I was like, wow, this is cool, like there's so much to learn and there's so much to grow, and so that,
because you didn't have the high stress, high pressure.
The focus was on fun and community, and that was probably exactly what I needed those years.
Right. So that makes a lot of sense. So again, like your younger years, I'm going to ask you who was instrumental to your success in your high school years. What'd you say?
A lot of people. This is really hard.
One or two. Nobody will feel offended when you read them out.
I think my parents were probably really instrumental in those years because they were just really supportive and just showed up to everything and let me totally choose my path, especially with the decision to do running year-round instead of soccer or other things. They were really great at showing up and being supportive and just letting me kind of, especially when it came to figuring out that I wanted to do this in college, and that was new for them, but they were always up for being by my side through it all. So it was nice.
Yeah, well, kudos to Mom and Dad. Okay.
Mom and Dad, somewhere. There they are.
So, Rach, at the end of your high school career, it became pretty apparent that you had some mad talent. I mean, you won New England's and a couple times the New England champ, and among other things. But when did you first realize that you had the potential to compete in college at the Division I level? And what was it like to be recruited and to be wanted? And just a few more questions on that. Like, what was the recruiting process like? What were official college visits like? How did you decide which ones to go to? Did they pay for travel? Just like for anybody listening or anybody here that's hoping to follow in your footsteps and compete at the Division I or Division II level, what can you share about that?
Well, I'm going to date myself a little bit because the recruiting process is totally a different ballpark now.
Really?
Yeah. Totally. I didn't have email. I didn't have a cell phone. So all these snail mail letters would show up to the office of the high school and would have my name on it with hey, we're interested in you. Like, if you're interested in us, send us back this form, and then we'll call you, and then we'll move forward from there. So I didn't know how any of this worked, and all these letters just started showing up, and I was like, this is so cool. And I sent back way too many. I just was like, like
yes
Hawaii,
to everyone.
I sent back. So then the next step of that was all these coaches started calling the landline our corded phone at the house. Yeah. So
we are dating it.
I know, I'm like, oh gosh, this is not how it works anymore, guys. But I ended up talking to some coaches, and you're allowed 5 official visits, which is still the case. So there we go.
Okay, so some things you're not out of
yes,
date.
Yeah, there we go. So I took 5 official visits, and the college does pay for that, and they'll often pay for your parents to come down too if your parents want to accompany you. And it's such a great opportunity because you get to spend 2 nights at the college and go to practices, go to classes, get to know the coach, get to know the team, kind of see what life would be like at that school. So that was really great insight into what it would be like to go to a certain program. So I took all 5 official visits, plus went around and talked to other coaches and tours, and at some point along the way, finally narrowed it down to wanting to do D1 because I got kind of enamored with the way the D1 coaches talked about that level, and the fact that they could see me running Division I and wanting to know what that was like.
Of course, yeah.
So I just started slowly narrowing it down. It was a long, stressful process because I didn't really know what I wanted going in, and a lot of people, a lot of high school kids kind of know, like, I want to go to a Sanford or I want to go to like a UNC, and I was just open to everything.
I'm just here.
Did you know what you wanted to study at that point or anything like that?
You know, I thought I did. But I don't really know why I thought that. So it's probably because I wanted to be like Kathy. So I was like, she seems to like that. I'll
follow in her footsteps.
Which I don't advise. You know, I would say, if I could actually go back and give myself advice, would be to, be more open with your major and don't stress about, feeling like you have to know in high school because so much can change and you're constantly evolving, and it's okay. It's okay not to know.
Absolutely.
So to keep that low stress if you can. No pressure there.
Good advice.
Yeah.
So you had a lot of great options. You were accepted at Harvard, Cornell, Duke, Middlebury.
This is mostly for running.
Northeastern. So why did you pick Georgetown? I mean, as far as I know, they didn't even have an official track, right? It was like 300 meters. So what made you settle on Georgetown?
That's actually a funny story because I remember telling my parents when this whole recruiting process happened, I was like, hey, if a school has a track, I'll look at it. So I did pick the one school that didn't have a track.
Right.
I am a huge believer, especially the further I get in life, of really paying attention to what your heart says. And if your gut has a feeling, to not ignore that. Even if people that, who definitely want the best for you and whose advice and like opinions you really value, make sure you're, paying attention to what your own voice says and to why. Because Georgetown was Coach Milt was the head coach there at the time. He was recruiting me, and his vision for that program and the team, who was like these are some of the best women in the country, and he was dreaming up, within a couple of years becoming a national championship team, which they did while I was there.
Right.
And he wanted me to be a part of it, and I was just like, oh my gosh, that's like, the fact he wants me there and he sees me as like being a contributing member of that would be a
dream come true.
Yeah, dream come true. Like, I don't even think I saw it at that point. And it really excited me. And I was like, kind of expected to get my butt completely kicked, especially the first couple of years. And I was like, I want to know what that's like. Like, I want to know what it's like to be pushed and to, try to run with the best in the country. And a lot of the other schools I was looking at were great academic schools, great financial offers, but they didn't excite me because I think I would have gone and already been, my high school accolades would have already been on par with the best runners there, and that just kind of didn't excite me as much. Like, I wanted to kind of go in as one of the worst on the team in a way.
Right.
And
and get pushed.
Get pushed, and then just really also valued like the team culture and how close the girls at Georgetown were and how fun they seemed to have doing it. That was a huge thing. Obviously, like going back to high school, I was like, all right,
you always gotta have a little fun.
Like these are some of the best women in the country, and they're having fun doing it, and like I gotta be a part of that. So
that makes total sense.
Ultimately, an easy decision when I like actually listened. So
for sure. So, and for the record, I think Georgetown has a lot of trails, right?
It did.
Yeah,
I know,
a lot of trails in the DC area.
It's a great surprise. DC's a great running city.
Yeah. So, but yeah, for any listeners or people here tonight that are hoping to be recruited, could you just talk a little bit about what a package looks like without getting into your own personal package? We wouldn't want to do that, but just like what could people expect? What's a range? What's a typical package? I'm sure a lot of people that are thinking about that are curious.
Yeah. Oh gosh, it's kind of like professional running in a lot of ways, where every school is so different in how they handle scholarship money and financial aid money and grant money. So it can just totally look like a variety of things. But each program typically has a certain amount of scholarships that they can offer each year, and just depending on how much of that is available, they might be able to give you 50% starting out, boost you to 100% by the end, or 20% throughout. It really ranges.
There's a wide range.
Yeah, that really
makes total sense.
Not quite
Yeah, so I have so much I want to get in, but just want to quickly talk about some of your running highlights at Georgetown. You competed in the 2010 Junior World Track and Field Championship in the 1500 meter, and some people may be asking, Junior Worlds, but you went in slightly young in
August birthday.
In college, so you were still eligible age-wise to compete in the Junior Worlds. But you were also an 8-time NCAA Division I American champ, a multiple-time Big East champ, and you hold Georgetown University school record. At least one of them, if not more.
Yeah, I think that actually got broken, which is awesome.
But at one time you were a record holder. So, but just wondering if you could share with us. I mean, we all have highs and lows in life. Unfortunately for runners, it's always on the public stage, which I always feel badly about. But just wondering if you could share some of your proudest accomplishments at Georgetown, or your highest moments, and maybe some of the most challenging or toughest or frustrating.
Yeah. Oh gosh. I think some of the moments I value the most looking back at Georgetown actually are some of the workouts with the women on the team. So not really in the public eye. But gosh, there's just, I miss that a lot. Like something about waking up and just meeting a team of women who's all in it together and sweating it out and grinding it out and holding each other accountable and supporting each other through both the good days and the bad days, the easy days and the hard days. It's just really special. I value that a lot when I look back at Georgetown. And when it comes to races, my favorite was always the distance medley relay. We had some really, really awesome DMRs. Never won nationals, but we got third in my freshman year, and I was on that team. And we brought a team there every year, and actually I think the year after, or 2 years after I graduated, the girls on the team below me won nationals in the DMR. So it was really fun to kind of get to witness that firsthand and be a part of that from a distance. But the relays were definitely the highlights. The workouts probably were the highlights at Georgetown. And then the toughest moments, I think, there's so many races that I left not feeling fully satisfied or wanting more out of, but at the same time, from all of those, I grew so much from that, and I learned so much that I don't think I would change them at all. Right. I mean, maybe a few. Yeah. But
some of them sting.
Yeah.
But
I can remember walking off the track in tears a few times.
Yeah. It's gonna happen.
Yeah. Totally. But no regrets. I feel like I always left it all out there, and at the end of the day, that's all you can do. So it's okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. But just one quick last question. So who is instrumental to you during your college years?
Oh gosh, so many people again. Emily Jones, first and foremost. She was my college roommate of all 4 years, and
Also on the team.
Also on the team. Running connected us and bonded us, and then we just, she was huge in running and so many aspects of my life, especially I think college is a really transformative time, and we were just kind of each other's rocks through a lot of highs and a lot of lows and a lot of challenges, and just so many good conversations. I'll always really value the way that we listened to each other and the ways that we would just always be excited about philosophizing and talking and about so many things. So she was a huge part of my college experience. But I was really blessed to be with some of the best coaches in the world and some of the best teammates in the world at that time. So
so it's hard to
it's hard to choose for sure.
Talk about a lot.
Right. So Rachel, while you were wrapping up your master's, because you got your undergrad and graduate degree at Georgetown University, and while you were wrapping up the master's, at some point you made the decision that you were going to continue to run competitively after grad school. And that's a big decision. So what went into that?
Yeah, that was an easy one too. I think a lot of these big questions are actually so simple. I don't know, maybe sometimes to an annoying degree, I'm kind of a strong-willed person when it comes to listening to my heart, and I was so not done with running at that level and was so excited by it that I don't really think, nothing was really going to stop me. I didn't have any financial support. I wasn't sponsored at the time, and nothing mattered. I just wanted to do it.
Going to run. Run for us.
My coach believed in me, and he was willing to keep working with me, and that was all I needed. And I was like, all right, let's do it. Let's try
this. Let's do this. Yeah. Well, right. So you weren't sponsored, but you did get sponsored. Not too long, right around that time. So obviously Under Armour is your sponsor. So here's some questions for you. How did you come about having Under Armour as a sponsor? First of all, why did you choose them, and how did you just make it happen?
Yeah, that's also super untraditional. And I had a really unconventional path to becoming a sponsored athlete. So I had a rough end to my 5th year of collegiate eligibility, and had got 9th at nationals, run 6 seconds slower than I had the previous year. So needless to say, no one was looking to sponsor me.
Nobody's knocking down your door.
I was like, all right, that's okay. Went home for the summer and worked, and just kind of stepped away from running and training, and just did whatever I wanted. And then come that fall, I went back to grad school and was so excited to start running, and had come up with a way of supporting myself financially by working some part-time jobs at the local running store, babysitting and dog sitting every week, entering lab data for an old science professor, and then going to grad school on the side and paying for that and living expenses. So it was such a grind. I actually look back on that time and I'm super grateful that all happened, because when I think about running at that time too, it was so solely because I wanted to do it. I wasn't doing it because I wasn't doing it for anyone. I was doing it because I wanted to do it. I think even my parents were like, well, what are you doing? You should do a more traditional.
All these degrees.
I think they would have a few less gray hairs if I had done a more traditional, stable career path, instead of being like, no, I'm going to work all these part-time jobs and try to run. And live paycheck to paycheck, and just kind of grind my way through. But that being said, it was so fun, and my coach he believed in me, and he's like, oh yeah, you can compete with these people, and showed up at indoor nationals or indoor USAs and got 3rd, and it's kind of, so at that time running was going really well, and I was working at the local running store, and Under Armour was getting into the running industry, and some of their higher ups, including the CEO at the Kevin Plank, came into the store to kind of figure out how they wanted to get involved in it. So I serendipitously was working, and kind of hit it off with one of the amazing women who worked there, and Yeah, this is so unconventional, by the way. This is like, I don't think any other pros. Anyway, so she'd like given me her card, and I was like, I'm going to go out on a limb and just send her an email about like how great it was to meet with her, and some of my running accolades, and like what I'm hoping to do, and I sent this email, and she was I was like, I'll probably never hear from them again.
Yeah, right.
But she was like, responded within a few hours and was like, oh, like I don't work in, the sponsorship section of the company, but like, do you mind if I forward this on? And I was like, oh my gosh, that's so sweet of you. Like, thank you.
Yes.
So she forwarded it to them, and long story short, I ended up getting a small sponsorship deal with Under Armour. And it really grew and flourished from there. Like that outdoor season, I think I got 5th at USA's and missed making the world team by 0.01 second and 1 place. So,
wow. Yeah.
So it was good. Like they totally took a chance on me, and at the same time, I was like really coming into my own, and just had a really good driven mindset and a good like stable situation with my coach, and just knew that like I wanted to become more all in with this. So it was kind of right at the right time. I graduated from grad school right around that time, and then was able to work a few less hours a week to kind of focus more on running. And that relationship just grew, and now I've been with Under Armour for 5 years.
Wow,
so
that's amazing.
Thanks. Yeah, so it's a weird story, but
that's a great story.
That's a great story.
Typically, most people get an agent and sponsorship if things are going well. And I don't know. I sent some email and
hey, whatever works.
Yeah.
So as you point out, you're still living in DC at this time, and you're training there. You had some side hustles because even though you're sponsored, you're not, you still had to do some other work. So what did your training look like? You were just still running on the no track?
Running on that 320-meter track in DC is very dear to me. I have to say, it's
let's not throw shade on that.
I was going to say, it might be a public track that's also a dog park, but it's very. I've got a lot of good memories there.
Yeah.
So training was really picking up at this point, which was fun because I was kind of trying to live the professional mindset of being able to train at a higher level and rest at a higher level. Yep. So I was doing double sessions most days. I don't fully remember what my mileage was or workouts were, but yeah, I remember being tired a lot in a really good way. And it was good. I also had an agent now at this point, and was traveling around to Europe and getting to race around the country and in different parts of the world. And that fall too, since I wasn't in grad school, I moved out to Flagstaff for the fall to do an altitude camp, and that was like a really awesome experience of like living and breathing running for a full couple months. And
you said so you just casually threw in, I got an agent.
that was at the same time as Under Armour was happening. Sorry, I know this is probably a little confusing.
How did you get an agent? How did that work?
So my coach had a friend who was an agent who was also on the up and coming, and he was really great. He was totally willing to work with me and helped me negotiate my first deal with Under Armour, and I've been with Total Sports Agency for the last 5 years, and Stephen Haas has been my personal agent, and he's just phenomenal at his job and has helped me renegotiate contracts, and they plan all your travel and propose meets and just kind of look after you on the road. And
so it's pretty key to have an agent.
I think they're worth the percent cut for sure. So
for sure.
So in August of 2015, you made that big decision to leave Washington, D.C. and move out to Flagstaff, Arizona. And for those of you who don't know, Flagstaff has a reputation of being a mecca for runners, and there's a pretty vibrant professional running community there, and a vibrant running community in general, I would say. And it is at elevation. It's just under 7,000 feet. And also, it's home to NAU, Northern Arizona University, where if any of you follow Rachel on social media, you may see their blue oval, which she does a lot of her work on.
I have a track now.
And also, I just want to mention Northern Arizona University. Their running program is headed up by coach Mike Smith. He's the head of that program, and he's probably one of the most renowned and running coaches in the nation. He's had tremendous success with that program there. And I know, Rachel, you're one of NAU's biggest cheerleaders and huge fan, and Mike Smith is also your coach.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to know if you could just talk a little bit about your move out to Flagstaff, what inspired that, what it's like to live in such a vibrant professional running community, or running community in general, and if you could just, talk about that a bit.
Yeah, oh gosh, there's so much to say on that. So I had been really lucky in getting to go out to Flagstaff in the summer of 2013 with some of my teammates at that time. And I fell in love with it almost from week one. I'd never seen so many trails and so much beauty with the mountains there.
Those birds.
Oh, the aspens.
I love the aspens
and the mountains. And it's the best place in the world to be a runner. So summer 2013, loved it, couldn't wait to get back. Wasn't able to get back until the fall of 2015. And I did not want to go back to DC after that fall. I did go back to DC for like the first part of 2016, but as much as I love DC, I needed to move on from DC. You know, most of my teammates had left years prior to that, and it was just kind of felt lonely. I had no training partners there anymore. The old Georgetown team and I were just very different schedules and different lifestyles. So I was doing most stuff alone. So I actually remember Kathy being like, can you just move to Flagstaff full time and do long distance coaching with Mike year round? She's like, you're so much happier in Flagstaff. And I'm like, I know, I really want to do that. But really serendipitously, that was the summer that Mike got offered the NAU position. Mm-hmm. And he called me up and he's like, hey, moving to Flagstaff. And I was like, perfect, me too. I'm with you, I'm going. Because I was planning on just continuing, live in Flagstaff in the fall, live in DC in the spring, so Mike could oversee some of my workouts and then around race season. So fall of 2016, I got to move to Flagstaff full time and ended up falling in love with this place far outside of just the running communities, which like you're saying, it's totally a mecca for professional running, but then the community as a whole, the trail runners there, the recreation runners there, the road runners there. Mike started up a program called Team Run Flagstaff about, I think, 10 years ago. And that's, the community can come out and do a workout every Tuesday night, and they have kids, a kids section of that. But anyways, it's just a flourishing running community on all levels. But Flagstaff's so much more than that too. It's this beautiful place with a really rich history and so many different cultures. And it's just a place that I've really been allowed to grow and do a lot of self-work and really kind of embedded myself in different parts of the community there. It's definitely become home. So I feel very fortunate to get to be there full time.
Wow, that's really interesting. And I just wanted to mention briefly, you do a little bit of volunteer work out there. You're a big sister, I understand. So I don't know if you just wanted to just quickly, because I know we're on a timer. But Big Brothers, Big Sisters is, I don't know if any of you guys have heard of that program, but it's an incredible organization that pairs one-on-one mentorship. So actually coming up on Valentine's Day is my 3-year anniversary with my little sister, who's just she's an incredible girl who's quickly becoming a woman. She's in high school now, and to get to watch her grow these last couple of years has been, really special. So it's been fun to be a part of her journey.
That's awesome. All kudos to you. That's a great program. Yeah. So let's move on to the life of a pro athlete, because that's what I want to know about. This is all about me. No. So let's start with your training.
Okay.
So how do you break it up? Is it into seasons, or is it into blocks, or how does that work?
It's really intentional. Mike and I have had some long-term goals and then some short-term goals that we want to accomplish in the season, and some goals that we start thinking about years out. So he's really awesome about seeing both the short and the long and kind of structuring training around that. And
it's tricky.
Yeah, it's a lot of planning, but on a weekly basis, it's during the building phase, typically 2 sessions a week, 2 sessions a day.
Yeah.
2 sessions a day. I was going to say, man, this is on vacation a lot. 2 sessions a day. I personally have been running around like 80 to 86 miles a week, and then doing a few hours of strength work, a few hours of drills every week, and then on Sundays I take a day off where I either go for a hike or sometimes swim or just fully recover. But
fully recover.
But I will say, a typical professional athlete isn't working much on the outside. So it's a lot of, in between sessions, legs up on the couch and trying to recover as much as you can for the second session later that day. And then as soon as that's done, you kind of get in the mindset of like, all right, how can I recover best for the morning session the following day?
Yeah,
so.
That makes sense. Mm-hmm. So 86 miles, so like is that a high mileage week or is that a normal?
Oh, it's so relative. I mean, for me, that's higher, but I have friends who are marathoning and they're running 120 plus miles a week. And
that's the marathon, right?
It's all, running's such a relative thing. The word fast is relative. The word a lot is relative.
Right.
You gotta, it's all putting it in perspective of,
Exactly.
But.
Okay, so let's get into your diet. So you probably can't eat chips and, all day long.
Where's my mom? What did we just eat right before coming? A whole bag of chips.
Right.
Oh my God.
Your coach might feel
I live with Mike, so he sees everything.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to save you there. Anyway. No, but what's like your diet like? What do you eat in a typical day?
Yeah, okay, well, I think the word diet has a lot of sigma around it.
Yeah, let's not use the word diet.
I was going to say, I've never been on an actual diet or counted calories. I've really tried to grow with my nutrition because that was an area of ignorance for a long time.
That was your naivety.
Arrogance, totally. Yeah. Gosh, a lot of room for improvement there through the years. So I do try to be really mindful of making sure that first and foremost I'm getting enough of the good things like protein and fruits and vegetables and really fueling my body in healthy ways. But that being said, I totally also have a sweet tooth that I don't feel guilty indulging. So ice cream, chocolate, baked goods, definitely still part of my diet. And
Well, good. I'm glad to hear that.
There are times of the year though, like closer to USAs and the trials, like try to dial it in more and be a little bit more intentional about not getting so many empty calories. But I'm kind of a make sure you get enough of the good stuff and then the rest in moderation. Or
makes sense. Yeah. So how do you stay healthy and avoid injuries?
Oh yeah, that's a great question. I think so much of that is being proactive and preventative as much as possible because dealing with injuries is really it's mentally and emotionally hard.
Accept that.
Yeah, ask any runner who's been in it long enough, I'm sure, has dealt with an injury and can know the frustrations and the disappointments of that. But something for me that's helped a lot is to focus on form and mechanics. Mike has been really instrumental in helping me clean up my form, which has been huge with preventing stress fractures in my feet and also just being a more efficient runner. So mechanics is a huge one, and then being really intentional about recovery. Try to get body work, whether that's rolling out on a foam roller or if you can, seeing massage therapists here and there or physical therapist. Incorporating a strength routine that'll help, strengthen some of the weaknesses that your body might have. But we do a bunch of things that are hopefully going to both make us faster and stronger runners, but decrease that chance for injury.
Absolutely. What about motivation? Like, I can't imagine having to run twice a day. I mean, how do you get up that second run? Or just staying motivated year round? Or I guess being surrounded by other runners helps, but...
Totally. I would say, I think a misconception is people think professional runners always have high levels of motivation, which is so not true. We all have those days that we're like, oh man, we just wish we didn't have to do this segment or something. But even when motivation is low, it's so easy to actually get out the door because one, the people that you want to be competitive with are getting out the door. Two, to be the best you can be, you always got to work even when you don't want to,
Absolutely.
You can't just be when you're feeling motivated. And then just the last thing I do when I'm like motivation is low is just feeling the gratitude of getting to do this for my job and to be able to like, you know, have a body that's healthy, have a body that's able to like to perform at this level. And it's as soon as I can come to gratitude, it's like I'm out the door already. I'm like, this is the easiest thing to do. Like,
what's the matter with me? Stop being I'm out of here. Yeah. Okay, so I kind of want to get into the glamour of it all. I mean, all right, I like it. I'm listening. Glamour. You've done commercials. You've done photo shoots. You've done Under Armour sponsored events. You've met some other pro athletes. So tell us a little bit about that.
There is definitely glamour to it. I like everything you just said. It's never thought I would get paid to do photo shoots or go to events, you know, where Michael Phelps is this close to you, and you know, trying not so hard not to like.
Oh my gosh!
I know, I'm like, okay, play it cool, like just be like here as an athlete. But yeah, there are things that are just really fun. I think the most glamorous for me personally is just getting to travel and like see different parts of the world, and that's the biggest thing that I would say is like, whoa, like sometimes I have to pinch myself being like, I'm on my way to like Europe right now. And so it's pretty sweet.
Right. You have been able to travel all over. And that's fabulous. Perk. Yeah. So when you were shooting one of those photo shoots, I want you to tell us about that when it was winter and it really wasn't.
Oh, the one in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Ooh, that was tough. Yeah, it's pretty amazing getting an inside look at what can go into a marketing campaign.
Yeah.
Especially with a company that, you know, has a high budget for a lot of things. So one of my first photo shoots was in Atlanta where it's like 109 degrees, but it's for their winter line. So we're dressed in like winter gear, and they bring out like a foam machine to make it look like it's snowing. So I just remember like pouring sweat under these clothes and like trying to act like it's like cold and there's like snow falling on you, but it's like foam and yeah, it's funny. And like they fly in makeup artists and hairstylists and everything's catered, and I'm pretty out of my element at those.
Yeah, I mean that must have been mind blowing the first time you had that experience.
Like even getting your running clothes tailored, and it's a whole different
running clothes. Yeah, running clothes tailored. You do that? I struggle them on a little bit. Yeah. Well, those are great things. So
it's fun.
Okay. So let's talk about your professional running career just a bit. So for all of you that have the program, we've listed a lot of her professional highlights. There's many more. We couldn't keep you there all day, but I just want to mention 3 that are kind of my favorites, I guess. So you ran the 5th fastest mile time ever for an American woman in 2019, and that time was 4:20.91. I mean, that's incredible to think about, coming from Sanford, Maine, and being the 5th fastest American.
I also want to say, though, in that race, I was 9th. So even though I was the 5th fastest ever American,
it was a world race.
I got my butt kicked. There's like the world record was set, 5 national records were set, and I'm like coming in 9th place, and I'm like, oh man, I probably just ran like a 4:25 or something. And they were like, oh, you ran 4:20.
Which was the 5th fastest time ever, but it was a great race. And you competed in the 2019 World Track and Field Championship in the 5K in Doha, which, for those of you who don't know, I don't want to say it's the equivalent to the Olympics, making the Olympic team, but it somewhat is. It's like what's offered the year that they don't have the Olympics, basically. So it's a huge, huge honor to make the world team. And you currently have the Olympic standard in both the 1,500 meter and the 5K for Tokyo 2020. So that's pretty exciting too. So thank you. Just want to talk about some of your professional races. Again, just wondering if you have any stories about what were those gut-wrenching, heartbreaking ones, and what were your proudest moments?
I think the gut-wrenching ones are probably that first year out was so bittersweet, making that world team by .01 because I totally didn't expect to. So to be that close was like a huge accomplishment and really exciting, and kind of gave me the vision or the belief that I could be on those teams in future years. But to miss it by .01, you know, that's like nothing in a 1500. So that was
less than that. Less than that.
Gut-wrenching one. But
didn't your competitor just outlean you just a
she like kind of fell.
Yeah.
So like there's this photo where
so
like
fall, Rachel.
Next time I gotta. But I honestly think the most gut-wrenching things are injuries. It's the worst is just not to be able to even line up. Like even the races where, you know, I'm like, oh, like I just missed a time or a place, or
you're still there and still have something to learn.
Yeah, and like you still get to try and still get to put yourself in it. But when you're injured and cross training for hours on end every day and not getting to do the thing that you love to do, that's the toughest part. So avoiding injuries is huge. We gotta,
and not to mention injuries during a race, like that one where you're behind you, where you're bleeding down your leg.
Oh yeah, you got cleated there.
Yeah. It's a contact sport for sure.
It is a contact sport.
So, did you want to talk about one of your highlights or?
So many. You know,
if you had to pick one.
I think this USA's making the world team for the first time was a really good one. That was.
You worked hard for that.
Yeah, that was a moment of. Feeling like a big goal had kind of come to fruition. So.
Definitely. Nice. So you've been pretty well known, or very well known, as a 1,500 meter runner or mile runner, and you recently added the 5K to your repertoire. In fact, you decided to compete in that event for Worlds instead of the mile or 1,500 meters. So I was just curious what went into that decision, or what inspired you to add that on, or.
Yeah, that was a very gradual process. I kind of had a block with the 5K for a while, but then decided to give it another try about 2 or 3 years ago, and admittedly had a lot of fun doing it, which I wasn't expecting. So was game to try it again. And around that time, Mike and I had really been working on developing my strength and endurance and threshold side of my running. So we kind of came up with a 2-year plan, where last year was a big emphasis on the 5K, and just really kind of going all in with it last year. So I had a lot of fun doing it.
And obviously it worked out. You made the world team.
So. Yeah, it was good. It was good. And now we're, kind of going back and forth between 15 and 5K. And it's nice to not just put yourself in one box and be able to.
So you're still open to both, or?
Totally.
Yeah. So just curious how you get in the zone, or how do you handle all that stress when you're lining up at Worlds? I mean, I was shaking coming out here. So
yeah, exactly.
I think I would die. So how do you handle that?
Yeah, I mean, you're kind of hitting a point here where running is absolutely more, in my opinion, it's more of a mental sport than a physical one. Like obviously physical fitness is huge and getting there, but to be the best competitor and to bring out your best on that day, like so much is your mindset and the ability to handle the pre-race nerves or anxiety or pressures that you're putting on yourself or perceived pressures from others. And that's something that I've done a lot of work on, and I'm still continuing to do a lot of work on, because there's always, like, even just thinking about the Olympic trials, I'm like, okay, like that's like a pretty high stake race, like how am I going to be my best self there? And a lot of that is just thinking about it as like, okay, what's in my control, and like just focusing on the things in your control and being like, the goal of that day is to just do the best you can and finish as high up as you can, as it is every day. It's like, in a way, it's like every race is just like any other race.
Right.
So to kind of think about that long in advance and to practice it even at really small races has been really instrumental. But then other things outside of running that I do to kind of work on, getting in the zone or being mentally calm in high pressure situations. I've started a daily meditation practice, the Headspace app. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of that, but big fan of Headspace.
Recommend it. Okay.
Yeah,
shout out to Headspace.
That's been, they don't sponsor me, but I like them.
Maybe they should. Give her a call.
But I think daily meditation's been really good, and then just also coming back to the things that you value in the sport and the meaning of it and why you're doing it.
Right.
Like coming back to your why is always huge. So as soon as I can do that, I'm like, okay, all this perceived, like anything I'm feeling that makes me feel anxious or pressured is actually totally irrelevant. Like that's not, you know, I'm not running for anybody. I'm not doing this for anybody else. Like I'm doing this for myself, and like because I want to see how good I can be. And I know that if I just give my all that day, I'm going to walk off the track with my head held high no matter the result. And I know that my family and my boyfriend and my friends love me and see my self-worth just as high no matter what my outcome is. And
For
at
sure.
the end of the day, I'm just lucky I get to try. So
Right.
it's actually really
We feel
simple.
lucky to watch you.
Yeah.
Thanks. Sorry for the stress I caused.
Yeah.
I mean, to make you guys.
I know. Yeah, I just wanted to ask you, what do you think are the biggest challenges facing women's running today? And if there was maybe one thing you could change or improve about the sport? We don't, not to be rude, but we don't have much time.
Yeah, no,
Do you have a
absolutely.
quick answer
Sorry.
for this?
Gosh, you know, I am so lucky to be surrounded by a lot of strong women and a lot of women in the sport who are really good advocates for the sport and really transparent in what they're doing and how they're doing it. And I actually think there's awesome progress being made. And I think just social media is actually a great way to raise voices and to call awareness to cultural issues or any issues. So I'm seeing a lot of women, you know, be strong advocates for women empowerment all across sport and all across a whole bunch of different platforms. So that's been actually really empowering and exciting to see. And then, sorry, what was your second?
I was just, if there was anything you could change about the sport, is there anything you would change or?
Oof, that's long.
That's okay.
I'd have to actually think about that one a little bit.
Okay, but who has been instrumental to you as a pro?
As a pro, hands down, Mike, in so many ways, both in running and outside of running. But he's been by my side from the time I was 20, and he's been my coach the last 8 years. So he's seen me through so much and so many highs and lows. But his belief in me and his support in me and his just being by my side through it all has been hugely impactful.
Yep.
That's good.
That factors into the motivation right there.
Yeah.
Having, you know, someone inspiring you. So what do we have to look forward to from Rachel Schneider? So let's just start with this year, 2020.
That is Mike, by the way.
That's Mike. What do we have to look forward to this year? Like, what are your goals?
Yeah, so right now I'm totally in the heat of training.
Right.
I am focused on going to the Olympic trials, the best version of myself, and getting first spot on that Olympic team.
And the Olympic trials are?
In the middle of June and end of June. They're like span a 12-day period, I think. So yeah, that's the big goal. Big goal is to make it onto that Olympic team.
There's really no much bigger goal.
Yeah, you know. Then
that's huge. Yeah.
But outside of that, I just want to keep getting better. Would love to lower some of my times, but a lot of goals outside of running. You know, there's I love that word better because there's so many ways to define better.
Sure.
But yeah, so I want to become better version of myself in a lot of ways.
Yeah. And I'm guessing that factors into saying, if I asked you what your long-term goals would be.
Totally.
That would, yeah, exactly. So,
ditto.
Do you envision a life after running? And if so, would it still involve running?
Oh, 100% to both of those. Running is not my life. I love running. I love it. I'm very fortunate that it is a huge focus in my life, but I am much more than just a runner, and I enjoy much more than just running. So there's a lot I actually look forward to focusing on and giving more time to after running. But I always think running will be a big part of my life.
Yeah, I don't think you can just turn that off.
No,
there's
absolutely
no way.
not.
So who do you admire in the running world?
Oh, so many people.
I'm sure.
So many. The running world is filled with really kind, really inspirational, really smart, a a lot of people who are just obviously out to be the best runners they can be, but are out to help people in a lot of beautiful ways. I'm in Flagstaff. I'm surrounded by so many people that I look up to, both younger than me and older than me. Yeah, gosh, there are people on the NAU team that I take so much pride in getting to witness their journey and the ways that they're like listening to their inner voice and bringing out the best in themselves and helping others. And then there are women and men older than me in Flagstaff, especially, shout out to Sarah Hall and Steph Bruce and Kellen Taylor. They're just Alphine Toulemonc. They're incredible role models on so much more than just running too.
Yeah,
it's like way outside just that, but.
So too many to choose.
Too many. It's hard.
It's great you have so many people
lucky
to admire.
Feel that way.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. So we usually end our podcast with a series of rapid fire questions, and today is no exception. We will hop right onto those. Yeah, you're looking rapid. So
Rachel's like, what are they showing me up here?
Okay, Rachel. All right. Favorite book or a book you're reading now? Either one.
Okay. A book I read recently, it's not the book I'm reading now, but that I really loved, is called The Book of Joy by Dalai Lama and Desmond Tutu. I'll keep these quick if you want to go super
this is rapid.
I can go into that book for a long time.
Okay, well,
highly recommend it to any readers out there.
Well, hey, we like to jot these things down for our own personal use later. Least favorite chore?
Picking up dog poop in the backyard.
Rachel's got 3 dogs. So
yes.
Yeah. That's a lot of poop.
And they're all big dogs, so they poop a lot.
What can't you leave the house without?
Probably my running shoes.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Okay. Favorite activity outside of running?
Spending time outside with Mike and the dogs or reading.
Yeah. I like those. Okay. For meetings and appointments or track workouts, are you usually early, on time, or running a little late?
Usually on the border of early or on time.
Wow, that's impressive. Thanks. So I like that. Okay, best vacation spot you have visited?
I don't know if I want to give it away. Just kidding.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I'll turn up there.
Arizona has a lot of places that. Arizona in general, just for place to explore, especially northern Arizona, but then Hawaii as well.
I mean, I love Hawaii too. Yeah. Okay, what is your guilty pleasure?
Probably my sweet tooth. Satisfying my sweet tooth. So.
Yeah. All right, that's pretty much mine too. Okay, what is the scariest thing you've ever done outside of lining up at Worlds or outside of the running world?
Yeah, probably some of the hikes that our family is the Gary Schneider hikes.
There have
been times I totally thought I was going to die.
Wait, you didn't mention skydiving?
I don't know. That actually wasn't that scary. It was so fun.
Gosh.
It was so fun. But I didn't think I was going to die skydiving. There have been hikes where I thought I was going to die.
Yeah. So some thunderstorms.
Okay. Favorite Under Armour product?
There's a lot. They've got a lot of great gear, but I do really love their new Hover. Well, it's not new anymore, but last year they came out with a Hover product line in their running shoes, and it's awesome. It's like super responsive and cushiony, so it feels really nice.
All right, is it Scott Gary approved?
Scott Gary. He's giving me the yes.
A dietist, so
yes.
Okay. All right. Well, you survived the rapid fire question. So
great job.
Way to go.
That pet peeve one stumped me.
Yeah, that's all right.
Rachel, thank you. That was a great interview, and I'm sure anybody thinking about running at the collegiate level or high school or professional got a lot from that. So thanks for sharing your journey. And I do want to just mention quickly, we all know behind every successful athlete is an amazing support system. So Rachel, you are no exception. So I'd like to ask Lynn and Steve, Rachel's mom and dad, to stand up, be recognized. And
I'll give them a standing
yeah. And also, when we first came out, I was nervous and forgot to mention to thank, we had such great support from technical expertise and technical support from Brett and Sarah and Richard. So this would not be happening without them. So thank you very much. Yeah. For anybody interested, this live podcast taping will be coming out, I believe, on February 10th on a Monday. So if anybody wants to tune in and listen, they can. And I know they're filming it, so it's going to be on the local TV station, and I'm not sure where else, but I invite you to check that out. But at this time, we're going to invite you guys to come up and ask Rachel a question. And we're going to ask you to head on over to where Patty's standing, if you don't mind raising your hand. And so we'd like to invite you to come on up and ask your questions.
Rachel, I would never ask you how old you are, but what year did you graduate high school?
Good deduction. 2009.
Rachel, as you know, I'm a very big fan of yours since the first day I met you at Pound the Pavement. And I would like to ask, what is your favorite race that meant the most to you?
Oh, that's hard. Favorite race? I'll go with, I think any USAs I'm at, competing against the best women in the country and getting, I view them as helping me bring out my best, and my parents have always been at all my USA championships, so it's always a little extra special running at nationals and then having family there as well. Yeah.
I really have to thank your brother Brian for posting all your stuff so I get to watch it.
Yeah,
He's a great guy.
Alan,
I appreciate that.
I will absolutely let Brian know that. Thank you. He is such a supporter. He is really sweet. Thanks, Alan.
Thank you.
Hi. My question is, what advice do you have for any mile runners or 800 runners?
Ooh, yeah. The mile 800's a really cool range where it's both strength and speed. So kind of making sure you're developing both of those aspects. Never get too far from sprinting and speed work. And then along with that, really focusing on form, because that's been instrumental in helping me take those events to the next level. So.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
My question is, how do you keep yourself from getting that mental burnout that you guys were talking about earlier?
Yeah, mental fatigue. I think keeping it fun is a big thing. Really coming back to your why, like why you're doing it. And if you're feeling stressed about outside things, just keep coming back to, why you want to be doing this sport. And if you no longer want to, that's okay too. It's okay. Like, I think some people feel like they identify as a runner, so they get worried about letting other people down if they no longer want to be competitive. And I think it's just as beautiful to move on to the next adventure if that's what you're feeling called to. But if you are loving it, stick with it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, Rachel.
Hey.
I'm going to be with you in June at the Olympic tryouts, and no, just kidding. So I just wanted to say I'll see you there. No, you had mentioned the hikes with your dad, and I'm quite familiar with those hikes. Did not take part, but my question for you is: have you beaten your dad at a race yet?
Oof. I'm not sure. I don't think he's still up on me.
Is he? Oh, okay. That's all I had.
I'll give Steve a shout out and say that when I come home, he still runs with me. So
that's great.
That's pretty impressive.
And you let him win.
I do. Yeah. All right.
Hello. So I was wondering, throughout your running career, what was your biggest range of improvement? What was from high school, college, pro level? What was easily the span of time where you were I am proud of myself?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think I had two really big jumps, maybe three. But high school to college, my freshman year, I had massive improvements. And I would say that was just from the environment I was in, with having a really structured training plan and teammates to work out with every day, and have that kind of be more of a focus. My first year in college was kind of shocking to me, just how much that was able to elevate me, that structure and support. And then when Mike became my coach much later, a couple years after that, he was really good at working on my mechanics and then developing my endurance. And that year I also had really big jumps just by working on efficiency and endurance were huge. And then becoming a professional and getting to really focus on that recovery aspect and making sure I'm resting has allowed me to train harder, which also has allowed me to improve another big jump. So kind of those elements at different stages of the career. But I would almost say, like, just be really, if I could go back and just be in the mile, like Ryan, I don't know if you know Ryan Hall, but he came out with a book called Run the Mile You're In, and I think that's a great anomaly for life too. Just like be really in the stage that you're in, and don't try to, like a high school athlete shouldn't be training like a professional athlete, and I think it's really important to develop long term. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Sorry, I hope that was helpful.
My question is, what would you, hang on, I forgot my question. What would your advice be for like any high school runners or people who like want to be pro but like still in high school and
I probably just building off that is just be like really present in the moment you're in. Have like the long-term vision, because I think a lot of the ways people get burnt out is almost trying to make it happen too quickly or putting too much pressure on themselves. Be really careful about the language you're using and the self-talk, because you're listening to that, right? Like the word, I should be doing this, is really negative. If we try to frame that as like, I can do this, or like, I will do this, and know that the journey is never just smooth and straight. There's gonna be a lot of bumps along the way, so try to stay positive and just be strong through those, because you'll come out of them. So yeah, it's a long process.
Thank you. You're also like the coolest person ever.
Thanks. You're the only person to ever say that. Or ever think that.
No, we've said that.
What was your favorite event in track and field when you were younger?
Ooh, the mile. I love the mile, but that's probably because my siblings love the mile, so I don't know how much of that was on me.
But you also did the high jump, the race walk.
I think I dabbled in everything for a while. It was fun to try everything, but mile was my favorite. Yeah. What's your favorite?
Probably the 400.
Ooh, nice. That's a good event.
That's a long one, too.
I would have been a 400 runner.
Young guy.
If I could have.
What sort of mindset do you keep while you're doing distance running? Because it's hard and it takes a lot of willpower to not stop like right in the middle of the run. So what do you kind of think about?
Yeah, totally. Oh man, that's if you could just get inside my mind, it's probably a whole bunch of different things. I'm like, oh, look at that mountain, or like, just all over the place. Like, sometimes it can be, deep philosophical conversations with someone or with myself, or other times I feel like I'm just barely thinking and floating, and other times I'll listen to music or a podcast to kind of give my mind a distraction. But I think if you're struggling along the run, just keep telling yourself that, like, you got this, you're gonna be better for it. And if it gets really tough, I come back to gratitude and find reasons why I'm thankful to be out there. Or if I get really dark, I'm like, hey, I'm not injured. That's I'm so happy I'm running and not biking or swimming. Yeah, so it's always a good thing for me to draw on when it gets really tough.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. In high school, were you familiar with a person who was a cross-country teacher for me named Noel DeSares?
Oh my gosh, yeah, we were on the team together. He's your history professor?
No, he was a cross-country coach.
Oh, nice. Well, tell Noel I say hi, if he remembers me.
Thank you.
Hi, Rachel. Hi. You addressed how you handle the nerves. So I'm going to ask you a slightly tougher question, which is pick the one race where you were so nerved that perhaps you were questioning your ability to perform. And how did you work through that?
Yeah. The times when I think, like the times when I can really tell my nerves are taking over and anxiety, I just go back to trusting that when the gun goes off, my mind and body are gonna know what to do. And they always do. Like as soon as the gun goes off, everything else goes quiet. The nerves go quiet. But yeah, sometimes the few hours leading into a race can be brutal. It is like I would say if your high school athletes are struggling with that, just tell them the best runners in the world, I know for a fact, are like, that's something everybody experiences. Nerves are a good thing. It means you care. That's what I try to tell myself too. Like, it just means I care and I want to bring out my best, and it's tough. You can't prevent them.
Yeah.
Or at least I can't prevent them.
That's a good answer.
Yeah.
Hi, Rach.
Hey, Scott.
My question is, okay, you're rounding the last corner of a mile, and you're in a really big race, and there's some amazing competitors, and one person's right on your shoulder thinking they're going to pass you at the last second, and another person, you're on their shoulder, and you're thinking you're going to pass them. And how do you stay relaxed? And what are your thought processes in those moments?
Yeah, that's a good question, and that has happened so many times. I don't think I stay that relaxed in that moment. If it's on the last turn, it is just like all out. It is, at that point, I am giving every single piece of me and not staying calm.
So if it's the corner before that and you're having to hold back, and you're thinking, when do I make a move? How do you figure that out? Do you go in with a plan, or do you just let your body take over?
Yeah, gosh, there's a great passage in Once a Runner that talks about this, in the mile actually, where it's all about emotional conservation. So like the first part of the race, it's like convincing yourself that like you don't care. Just like relax, like almost detach, like let your body just do it. And then when it gets to that like last piece, bringing, like, it's like you're sinking to the bottom. I think the analogy was like you're sinking in the water, and then right when you think you can't go any deeper without taking a breath, you like claw up as fast as you can and as hard as you can. So there comes that point in the race where you're like, okay, now I know, like this is where I'm going. And we do sometimes have a plan of like, at 300 to go will be shift one, but like make sure at 200 to go and 100 to go, you have one more gear, and like that's where you're really gonna hit it. So you can't control what the other runners are going to do, and at that point in the race, you kind of always have to make sure you're at least with them. But if you are kind of controlling the race, making sure that you don't move so early or give so much energy that you don't have that gear for the last part. But it's actually pretty strategic and tactical in a lot of ways that I think some people don't see, but you can see it because it's
Thank you.
Tactical.
Yeah, I've lost a few races from not being good at my strategies. So.
Hi, Rachel.
Hey, Shannon.
How are you? So I've always been amazed at your ability to win races or do really well in races, but when you maybe haven't done as well as you would have hoped, you're always able to kind of dig deep and look at the positive side of things. So I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about, is it hard for you to do that?
Yeah, sometimes, totally. I, like there are times where I'm like, can reframe it or like learn from it. The whole part is to, those races that you're talking about, is to like really learn from it, and then to close the book on it and just like no more emotional expenditure on that. Like you can't stay hung up on the past. But there are different amounts of time, depending on the weight of the race, that it's taken me to actually really close the book on it. And I think for the most part, I'm pretty good at doing that quickly, and like really getting closure on it and learning and moving on. But sometimes when the disappointment's high, I can be sad about it for a little while. Yeah, and that's okay. It's like I have to like keep reminding myself it's okay to be sad, or like it's okay to not close the door on it as fast as you think you should. But
thanks.
Yeah.
And Kathy wanted me to ask you a question on her behalf. Who is your favorite sibling?
Yeah, you better.
Yeah, don't walk into that minefield.
I was going to say, this is
Rachel, not everyone likes to come to the mic to ask questions. Are you willing to stick around after the close?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah. Can I just say one quick thing?
Of course.
These women up here, I would say everybody has a story, and everybody's story has probably a lot of wisdom and inspiration to draw from it. But I have been really fortunate to get to know these women firsthand my entire life. And never mind them being incredibly inspirational friends and moms to your beautiful children, But it has been such a privilege to get to see you guys start up a company and a whole business adventure while also planning other adventures across the country or across the world. So it's just really, they're such good reminders that, like, no matter what stage of life you're in, listen to your heart and follow through with it. And, you know, it's just really cool to watch you guys be so brave and courageous and make things happen. It's like,
next chapter.
They need to podcast.
Yeah,
you need to podcast them too.
Yeah, right.
So, thank you. It was really cool to see. It was really cool.
Okay, well that's it.
Thank you guys. Thank you for coming out.
Wow, that was so much fun and amazing, and I had the best time. How about you, Meg?
That was such a great night. So much fun. And thank you again to Rachel. You're amazing. We love you.
Love you, Rach.
So proud of you. But just encourage all our listeners, if you enjoyed the podcast, to please subscribe or head on over and follow us on social media. We'd love to have you tune in to listen to future podcasts.
Yes, we sure would. And thank you to all of our listeners out there. We really appreciate your support of our podcast. And a big thank you to everyone who came out for our live podcast. It was so much fun. We had an amazing time. So that's it for us. Have a great day, everyone.
This has been an Academic and Career Advising Services production.